Hey guys, been a minute.
Ricky.
Been a long time, feels like, at least.
Yes.
How great was that Secret Santa show?
That was awesome. It just needed a fireplace, you know?
We've got the best listeners on the planet. I'm convinced.
We really do. And, you know, Ricky, if it takes you and I having a blow up fight to create a little magic like that, then we're going to have to do it a little more often. I think people really liked it. At least that's the feedback.
Yeah, I do too. People were so gracious and posting about it on social media. And I've got to say, just going back and looking at what I personally got, all of our Secret Santas really took the time and effort to get us cards that we would enjoy. And it's really tough to sit in here knowing we have to fill another hour, knowing that our fans are funnier than we are.
That's true. That's very true.
By far. So during the Secret Santa show, we talked about these a little bit. These easy grade sleeves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said on the show I didn't get one. I actually did get one. So I saved someone because these suck. These are the worst product I've ever seen. And if you will just pay shipping and handling and processing fees, I will replace every single one. No. So we talked about these on previous episodes where Tim's cut corners, where you clip just the tip of the corner off of the top loader. We get these cards. They're easy grade cards. They say, oh, yeah, you've got the corner done. But it keeps the seam all the way up and doesn't cover about 10% of the card once it's in.
Look how bad that is. I mean, like you're missing like 5% of the card's surface area. Like when I was talking about cutting, I mean, you're taking a little snip with like maybe a millimeter of depth into the rest of the sleeve. I mean, that's ridiculous.
And by leaving the corner above where the corner is slit,
right,
it actually makes it harder to insert the cards. And I actually dinged a quarter putting it in a card slip.
Love you, Ricky.
Well, the bottom corner is going to be taken care of, so you're going to be covered there. Just the top part of the card will be chewed right off.
Yeah. So, Tim, we need to market Tim's cut corners because yours are way better.
Thank you, Ricky. Go on.
There's an Adam. Oh, it's a 101.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pack to the Future. I'm your host, Ricky, a.k.a. Mr. eBay. And I'm joined by my co-host and partner in crime, Dr. Chad.
Someone call for a doctor?
How you doing, Chad?
Happy to be back.
And we're joined, as always, by the great, the entertaining, Dr. Tim.
Here we go, baby. Prepare to be underwhelmed.
We are back. We are live. We've got an awesome show planned for you guys tonight. We're going to dive into this BGS graded cards controversy. Talk about how you can figure out if your graded BGS card slab is a fake and who's to blame. But before we get into that, it's been a minute, guys, since we've hit the segment that's been sweeping the nation. Let's get a little news.
All right. Well, guys, yeah, it has been a minute since we've had some news, and we're going to lead it off with the big one. Flawless Basketball this year, of course, was a very highly sought-after product, mostly because of Zion and Ja. And the Zion 1-of-1 Flawless Logo Man has been pulled. And the story behind this is pretty interesting. The card should be up for auction now. So, some guy named Paul out there. Paul, if you're listening, call us. Let's chat about this break that you bought into and pulled this card. Paul buys into a break, hits New Orleans, pulls this Zion 1-of-1 Logo Man. So it's a horizontal card. Logo Man looks fantastic, as you would imagine. The breaker is located in Southern California, and Paul manages to get this card graded in 1 day. So he reaches out after he hits it to Golden Auctions. Now, according to the website where we pulled this news story from, Golden Auction has a nephew in Southern California near where the breaker was. Contacts the nephew. Nephew goes and picks up the card on Sunday, drives it to PSA Monday, sits and waits for it. The card gets graded the same day. Apparently, you can pay for a premium elite 1-day service, which I didn't even know existed. It's a $5,000 service, but he paid it to get this Zion graded. Came back a 9, not a 10. But it's going to be going up for auction on Golden Auctions. It should be posted around the time of this recording and is expected to sell for around $750,000 for this card.
You know,
that's a life changer.
And 5,000 is just change at that point, but it's still $5,000.
It doesn't matter. Like if that.
Maybe not.
Does it really change the value of that card?
It protects it, though.
It does protect it.
PSA 9 is still above average. I mean, for a flawless card, I mean, that's actually pretty hard to hit. I mean, I expect like PSA 8s on those.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is he should have still gotten it graded, but he still would have gotten it back pretty quickly, I would think, grading it just at a normal service.
Not with the way things are right now. No, he would have taken a month. If you'd sent that in for 5 day, maybe 2 weeks. 10 day is really a month. I mean, 10, 20 day, whatever they want to call it. It's bad.
Yeah, and I'm with Tim on this. You send this in for a 10-day review and say it's supposed to take 30 business days. By the time you're at 1 month and you don't get an update, you are going to be losing your mind every day until you get that update back. Just think about what David said. Sometimes things get missed. Yeah. You don't want a $750,000 bill getting missed or lost in the back room.
No, you don't.
When's the All-Star game this year?
We don't know that there actually is going to be an All-Star game this year.
Yeah.
There goes my argument.
So next.
Guys, I'm going to do a little impression for you for this next one.
All right.
Finally, The Rock has come back to the hobby.
Yes.
A super rare Dwayne The Rock Johnson card has just sold for $14,000. The PSA Gem Mint 10 card is from the popular Superstars college days with the University of Miami football team. And this card was released at the 1994 Orange Bowl in sheets of sets of the University of Miami football team. Evidently, on the day that they were handed out, it was a pretty rainy day. So most of the cards' quality was not were ruined or thrown out. These cards are what you would look to get in a like McDonald's Happy Meal, or the Sports Illustrated for kids. They're the tear outs, and you can see the tear lines along the whole card. But it is a PSA 10.
Huh.
The card manufacturer, Bumblebee. Yeah.
Bumblebee.
The tuna company.
Like the tuna? That's awesome.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Wow. Yeah.
We've lost our minds, I think.
Yeah.
No, I know. We're talking about tuna on a hobby show.
You know, I've seen some of those tearaway cards. Someone else was talking about these where they actually have the sides. Oh, what do you call them? They're not fenestrated sides.
Well,
I guess they would be.
Right?
Yeah. And can you imagine having to get that perfect? Like, even think about when you were a kid with the sheets of paper that you would try and rip out from the notebook.
Right.
Gosh, like you would try and get it perfect and you just rip one. Like, what if you have a $10,000 Dwayne Johnson and you get down to that last little tear and you screw it up and rip the corner right in half?
Oh, I know. And then
we've lost our mind. I mean, the article goes on to say that they think there are less than 50. So this is out of 50.
Wow.
It's not even that rare by some standards for $14,000. And you look at the white perforated outline. I mean, it looks awful. It looks like it literally could be a Sports Illustrated for kids Michael Jordan card. Save your SI for kids, MJ.
That's cool. Gotta look into that though. Like, who knew? You know,
Yeah.
The Rock. And then who knew that the NHL would sell out this hard? I know you guys don't care about hockey out there, but there's a total of 4 divisions, and somehow they found a way to make money off of that. They're selling the naming rights to the divisions.
What?
So the North Division is now the Scotia NHL North Division.
Ugh.
The West Division is now the Honda Division. The Central Division is now Discover. And then the East Division is now Mass Mutual. Can you imagine getting those patches, on a hockey product next year? I mean, they're even selling ads on the helmets. I mean, I know they're hard up for money because of, lost TV revenue and games,
Right.
but wow. I mean, what is the point of naming a division?
I think that's a great question. I mean, where is this going to be put other than on a helmet? Like, if I go to ESPN and look it up, is that where it's going to say it? Like, does it have to transfer over? I'm just with you, Tim. It just doesn't make logical sense to me.
Right. Like, where's the exposure? What's the point?
Mhm.
It almost seems like they're trying to do what NASCAR does. And NASCAR always renames their Cup Series, their Major League, their AAA equivalent. And I have no idea which is which anymore because they're impossible to follow.
Well, it's like college football bowls too, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't care who the sponsor was. Like, call it the freaking Cotton Bowl or the Orange Bowl, like the Rose Bowl, what we used to know them as, right?
Well, and I'm nervous about where we're trending in that. Have you noticed during the NBA last season, during the bubble, and they've continued it this year, that they're starting to place ads digitally on the court for us?
Yeah.
They're able to swap
any
them.
dollar they can get. Yep. The commercials during the free throws. I mean, like, just stop the madness, right? I get it, but geez, ruining the experience a little bit.
Yeah.
The virtual logo on the court. Mrs. Doc and I, we had like a full-blown 5-minute conversation about this. The Jazz were playing an away game, and Vivint Home was on the court. And Vivint Home is the name of the arena where the Jazz play. And the Jazz were on the road. And my wife said, "Oh, I didn't know the Jazz were playing at home tonight." And I said, "They're not." She's like, "Yes, they are." And I was like, and I totally went off on the same. I'm like, "Oh no, there's more than one Vivint Home arena." Like, just kind of making it up. Like, I don't know. I'm like, I didn't even know you paid attention to this.
I got a panicked call from my father for the same reason. He's like, they're not in Utah, and it says Vivint.
No, she was totally right. Like, I tried to brush it off like it's something she would never pay attention to, and her little spidey sense went up like, "Oh, there's something wrong here, and I can call Chad out on this." And she totally busted me.
Her spidey sense is strong too. You don't.
Yes,
you don't
it
mess
is,
with that.
man. Yes, it is. Oh, it's not good. Well, that's a good story, guys. Next up this next story is interesting as well. The Chicago Sports Spectacular, obviously located in Chicago, planning on moving forward this year with their June show. Now, the importance of this show is that this was the first show in Chicago to be canceled last year due to the pandemic. The fact that it's taking place this year and just a few weeks before the National, located at the same venue, may indicate that Chicago is planning on moving forward with the National. Tried to look on social media this week to see if I could find anything in particular about updates for the National. There are no new updates, and they're still selling tickets, and it seems as though they're planning to move forward with this, but just another piece of news that maybe it's going to happen. So thinking about this and thinking whether or not we would go, we keep teasing this occasionally on the show. I took the time off of work this week for the show, should we
Really?
go.
Nice.
But I did turn to Instagram and turn to our followers there, and I posted a poll just about an hour ago asking, if you had to commit today, would you go to the National? And as of the time of recording, 80% of people said no.
No.
Said
Wow.
Really?
no, which
That's
shocked
not what I see on social media or Facebook.
I know.
Everybody's showing off the cars they bought from Dallas. I mean, that was a big deal, right? I was like, what are you guys doing going to a show in Dallas? But people were jazzed about it. So that's surprising to me. So maybe it's a different community altogether on Instagram.
and small sample size too. I mean, we
Sure.
didn't just have 5 votes. We definitely had more than that, but it shocked me. It definitely shocked me.
Yeah, and I think part of it, I'm sure, is the unknown of when we're going to get our vaccines, and not wanting to be in a confined space, regardless of the size. And I wonder if part of it's the effects that COVID, the pandemic's had on people's livelihoods. That maybe they're saying, hey, I got to pick up the pieces in 2021. I don't have time to go.
Finances too.
Right.
I mean,
That's
I guess
exactly
there's a lot
it.
that goes into that.
Yeah, maybe the cracks are finally starting to show. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I guess that option will be there for people, perhaps, in case they do want to go.
Yeah. And finally, we're going to end on a high note. Ken Golden, who we started the show with, of Golden Auctions, recently posted the results of an auctioned 1986 Fleer Michael Jordan PSA 10 for a record-breaking $222,000 and $222,630. Tim,
That's how much my med school debt was. That's amazing.
what's the highest MJ you've owned, Tim?
Oh, no, you're going to go there? You're going to go there, Ricky? I don't even want to talk about it, but, it was a Min Gem BGS 9.5.
Well, to be fair, how much did you
And
sell
you
it
sold
for?
that for $222,000?
No, I wouldn't be on this podcast with you guys if I'd done that. So.
We know where Tim's passions lies.
The truth comes out.
No, I mean, I got like 10,500 out of it, which was pretty much max dollar value at that point.
Yeah.
Wow.
Divorce is expensive, life is expensive. I mean, there's things you do, right? And I was happy with that. I mean, that was a fantastic price, but what 20x value in 2 years? Get out of here.
It's interesting you say that because Card Ladder shows that a BGS 9MJ just sold for $52,000.
5x. Okay, no, I'm less sick to my stomach. You're right.
But
because the
at
PSA
the end of the
10 was
day,
222.
It is a piece of cardboard inside of a piece of plastic.
It is.
And so
it's-
$10,000, Tim, I say you did well.
I completely
But-
agree.
But, so the whole argument was, hey, this is a card I might get back someday, right? It's not rare. What I missed, though, was that 9.5s and PSA 10s are relative to the demand, especially after the last dance. I mean, the demand is just through the roof. And now freaking Gary V is pumping the card. I mean, forget it. I'm never owning a BGS 9.5 or a PSA 10 again.
Never say never. Never say
I mean,
never.
it's
Tim.
the chances are about 2%, like a 2-outer on the river. I mean, things have to change.
I've seen you pull that off. And here, how about a little spin on this? Would you rather own 3 of those cards or 1 Zion Logo Man non-autographed PSA 9? Right? I mean, we said that we're projecting $750,000 for that Zion.
Yep.
You give me 3
Jordan.
3 Jordans all day.
Jordan all day. Yeah, because that's classic. He's cemented in history. Can only go up. Zion has I put it at like a 75% chance at tanking. Like
That's a high
historically,
number, but I think you're probably
historically big, talented guys don't hold their value over time.
right.
It's the truth.
Yep,
It's the truth.
I agree.
Before we hit the break, Chad, you had something to mention in the pre-show, and I completely stepped over you. You want to tell us about what we were sent?
Yeah, I would, but I'd also like to point out that you also skipped right over Tim's last story as well.
Just kidding.
Just while we're
Cut
piling
that
on.
out. Go on, Tim.
It's fine.
So one last thing from the Secret Santa, which is pretty cool, and in a non-smooth transition, I'll point this out. I don't know how we ended up receiving this, but the basketball card guy, we've talked about the cards that he will ship out if you buy a card from him, which is I assume, self-made Marvels card based off Don Russ Marvels insert. And it's of him. And in Sharpie, he drew a gray Santa hat, a gray beard, and said, "Pack to the Future." And look at the inscription there on the bottom. It's numbered. 101, baby.
It is a 101.
By
It is.
God Almighty. It's a
That is
Santa
super
101.
That is super cool. These cards are awesome. Go check out his website, basketballcardguy.com. And thank you for this. This is super cool. Ricky and I spoke. We're putting this in the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yes.
It's going to go along with the slap and whatever our next bet is for 2021.
Yes,
Yes.
we couldn't decide how to split it, and we weren't going to cut the card up. So we figured the only rightful way for the show to truly own it is whoever owns the briefcase carries the card.
Fair enough.
Yes.
I like that. I like that.
Do we rent out one of those trampoline houses this year and we truly set up ladders and suspend it from the ceiling and have some sort of free for all? I don't know. We got to start brainstorming this thing.
I am so in. We'll talk about that more. Yes. But when we come back, guys, we're going to talk about BGS fake slabs, how to look out for them, spot them, and who's to blame when we're back right after this.
Hey, Ricky, Teddy DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. They said they call you Mr. eBay. Well, I'm not really sure why, but whatever it is. And I understand that you have a sports card podcast show and frequently reference me and my music. That's very flattering. But here's what you got to remember. You can reference me all you want. You can play my music. But there's always going to be one big difference between you and me, Ricky. You know what that is? I'm rich. You're not. And everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Pack to the Future podcast. Reach out to us on social media. We are there on Instagram, Pack to the Future podcast. We're pretty active there most of the week. You'll be able to catch one of us, except for Ricky. So, guys, pretty popular in the news over the past couple of weeks have been the outing of BGS fake slabs. And so we wanted to talk a bit about that for our next couple of segments here, kind of how to identify them, how to spot what is a fake, what has been known to be a fake, and kind of chat a little bit about this. So sometimes when I'm at work with medicine, patients will come in and I'll kind of start with the solution and then I'll fill in the blanks. And so I'm going to make it real easy for you guys right now.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you the solution and then we'll fill in the blanks for the rest of the show.
Okay.
The easy solution is if you have a new BGS slab, it's fake. You're not getting a BGS slab. If someone tells you that you've got a card that's a 2019 or 2020 card in a BGS slab, it's a fake. Because we all know no one getting a card back from BGS in the last year.
Oh, that's true. It's 100% true.
Case closed.
Right? Yeah. Where are BGS slabs from 2020? Yeah, we don't have any. Yeah,
out in the ether.
We know BGS hasn't graded a card since 2017.
But Tim, we when putting the show together, we really thought this would be right up your alley for this first part to kind of task you at talking to listeners about how to spot a fake slab. You've pointed out to us that there are some certain things with BGS slabs that can really help our listeners identify what is fake. So Tim, why don't you take it away and start telling us about that?
Want to start with Beckett?
Yeah.
BGS? Yeah, let's go with that. Okay. I mean, PSA is at fault too, but BGS.
No, let's try and stick with the BGS.
Yeah. No, BGS. I think they drew just far more attention to themselves. And so that's why it's the more relevant company to talk about right now. At Panda Cards on Twitter. I think that's what kind of fueled this all, basically. Story there, in case anybody's not familiar, is that he had two 2015-16 Prism LeBron James silvers that had the exact same serial number. The only differences were font was off a little bit if you looked at it, and there was like a little streak through, I think it was the 9.5 part of the label. And I give Chad a bunch of flack all the time about fonts, but this is one of those times where it mattered.
Yeah. How do you screw that up? How do you go through all that effort and then screw up the font size?
Oh, okay. Hold on.
It's tricky. It's
okay. Okay, I've got a really quick story, but I think it's funnier than hell. Okay, so back when the Utes went to the Liberty Bowl in Memphis, back sometime right around when I was 20.
Right.
So it was right over New Year's, and we went out with a bunch of our friends out to Memphis.
Right.
And we wanted to go on to Beale Street for New Year's Eve, right? So Tim, I'm super sorry, but this totally relates to this. So we go out there and I spend a couple of months before we go kind of creating a thing so I could get onto Beale Street, an identification item.
Fake ID.
And yeah. So long story short, I ended up using the wrong font, forgetting to change the year, but changing my birthday to make it say that I had just turned 20 to get onto Beale Street, as clearly identified by the person who could see that the font of the number was off. Then they looked at the year and I totally screwed it up and I got sent home with the tail between my legs. So you know what? Maybe that's the underlying truth why I hate font. And Tim, you're absolutely right. Font matters. Font matters. I'm sorry for that aside. I'll let you go, but man,
that's completely our hashtag for the episode this week.
That's where my rage comes from. Sure. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But in all fairness, that was not the only thing that tipped people off. And so, I mean, the power of the internet, people with way too much time on their hands, they just scoured for images and cards that were examples of this. The interesting thing is, I mean, there were some irregularities that weren't consistent through all the different types of slabs, but one came to the forefront for BGS specifically. At the bottom, so the bottom edge of their slab starts with a PAT.
Okay.
And then a long number of, after a 6, because that's their patent number for the slab. I mean, they have it patented. And if you look at it closely on the two fakes, the one fake, the decimal, the dot between PAT and the 6 was absent. And a little bit more research into all the other fakes. Yeah. I mean, that dot. So yeah, go ahead, Ricky.
This is engraved on the plastic itself.
Yeah. So you're holding one of your Beckett slabs right now. So take a look at the bottom edge.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually holding a PSA one, and I've noticed something similar with them. So
you're no help.
I'll go grab one while you guys talk.
No, but anybody at home who's listening right now, if you have a BGS slab and you aren't aware, on the bottom edge, that's where the patent number is. And I mean, I don't know how you have this oversight, right? Like you're trying to fake a BGS slab. Like you should just be copying it, like inch by inch, centimeter by centimeter. You should just not leave any detail overturned, and you leave out a decimal point.
Well, and I noticed on the PSA, like it's like a little bit of raised plastic in the corner with their PSA just has
their PSA.
Logo.
Yeah. Yeah, they etched it in there.
And is it similar to that on the BGS?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like a stamp or how they mold it, but either way, it's part of the slab there.
If you have the equipment to create that, again, how do you mess that up?
I don't know.
Hey, these things happen.
Yeah, Chad.
Sometimes you forget.
No, people are human, but these are not very detail-oriented fakers. But
the dot on the fake ones, what are we supposed to be looking for?
No, it's just not there.
Okay.
So, yeah. But now that everybody's pointed it out, I mean, they're going to go ahead and fix it for their next iteration of a fake slab.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So, Tim, I'm not seeing where this is. Is this something where you could spot this on an eBay photo?
So that's actually an interesting. So you picked a bad example because same as mine, any of the thick slabbed cards, so anything over like 55, 75 point, the slab is different. So it does not apply to anything thick. The patent number is not visible or not placed on anything over that thickness. So,
I see.
But on any other regular BGS slab, let me go get it.
Ooh. Okay, so on the thick card, someone could fake them and you could not use that as an identification. So what would happen then on a normal thickness card? Is that something where a photo on eBay would be able to reveal that? I mean, that's where a majority of us are buying our cards through now. And if we're trying to look for this, is that something you think we'd be able to pick off?
Not from the quality of eBay photos. I mean, people play all sorts of games on eBay, right? Like they're going to purposely leave it like a poor resolution so you can't see stuff like that, but you should 100% ask for it. Like you're in a private sale online, anywhere else where you can ask for another photo, you should 100% ask for a shot of that edge now,
Yeah.
So,
wow. Are there other ways to tell them apart, the fakes from the reals?
I mean, there were other examples that I found. That were just like egregiously bad. Like one of them, the clamshell of the front and the back of the plastic slab for a Beckett slab, like it just slid apart. I mean, kind of like you could slide them on top of each other. Because if you look at the side of your slabs too, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4. So two crimp marks, I guess, is the best way to describe it, where the slab is like, clicked together or sealed together. And they were absent on this fake one. And the whole thing just kind of was loose. And the guy like popped it open. He was like, yeah, this is fake. So.
Why am I picturing that card that I bought for Ricky that was like a hand-drawn Zion from earlier last year? It's like a stick figure, Zion 101.
Yeah, basically, right? Yeah.
I'm picturing Tim, and I really want to make this happen. Maybe if he loses a bet, I want him standing outside of our local card shop with a big black trash bag, like they do in New York City, selling fake Jordan rookies, and fake Oakleys and fake Rolexes, just in a trash bag full of PSA 10s.
Awesome.
9.5s.
So with that being the case, then, if someone is going to be buying these BGS cards and buying them off of eBay or buying them with a low resolution photo, then a solution to this would not be good enough to just tell people to pay attention to what you're buying. You like a solution from BGS, a realistic solution wouldn't just be, hey, pay close attention, because you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell this if you're trying to buy this card.
Right.
Well, I mean,
I'm wording that poorly, but does that make sense?
I don't know. I mean, you're paraphrasing Jeremy Murray from Beckett. I mean, that was his answer, was to buy wisely. I mean, come on, right? I mean, to an extent that is on us, but really it's quality control at this point. I mean, there definitely are fake slabs out there. Who knows how many? I don't know.
Who does check these serial numbers? Tim, you mentioned the first example with the LeBrons, that the serial numbers were identical. Mm-hmm. How do you know the backstory of how someone found this out? Like, do you guys ever look at a serial number?
No, we talked about this a little bit with David. By the way, he doesn't like to be called Dave. It's David.
Thanks, Ricky.
And he was saying that he always whenever he's buying one of these on eBay, he searches the number on there just to find out who's owned it, where they've, and then sometimes he'll ask him a couple questions just to verify.
Am I the only person who doesn't do that? Do you guys do that?
Well, I don't buy slabbed cards, but there's been a couple I thought about buying in the last month, and all I can think about is what David said, that, God, I'm going to have to research this. And then it discourages me from even buying the card because I don't want to put the work in.
I mean, it does require some effort. I mean, I think for your regular $100, $200 slab card, who cares really? But we're talking like, 4-figure, 5-figure cards. I mean, it's worth that extra step.
Well, and they're going to harm all of us Luka collectors that have a ton of Luka rookies in our junk box and are trying to sell Gem Mint 10s. No one's going to buy now.
I know. Slabs are good.
Here's another question.
Mm-hmm.
Say that you buy cards as a collector and not someone to resell cards.
Mm-hmm.
Does it matter
Mm-mm.
if you buy one that's in a fake slab? If you never know, does it matter?
Mm-mm.
I would argue that 90% of the collectors out there who collect cards and don't care about the value may care, because the faking is not so much just the slab. It's putting a different value, say like Luka Silver Prism, into that fake slab and swapping out the legitimate like BGS 9.5 or a PSA 10 silver, keeping that one. So a lot of people say buy the card, not the grade. And so if you're double buying a bad slab and a bad card, then yes, it does matter.
And that's really where I'm going with it, because the card itself is not changed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're still getting that card.
Well, sometimes it is
change for the seller, of course, because the seller will make more money off of it. But if you're just a collector, unless you're collecting a slab, and I guess that's where it matters, right? I'm just arguing different points here.
But are you worried?
Yeah.
Are you worried? What if that card is a complete fake, all around fake that they've recreated somehow?
Yeah, I mean, that's bad. That's Jordan rookie card territory. I mean, you pick a card like that. I mean, there's fakes all over. I mean, that's a different issue. But I mean, where there's money to be made,
that would be a huge deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you could do a whole segment on how to spot a fake Jordan, but that's a big off tangent. So
yeah, or you could put a fake Kobe Bryant autographed rookie card in there, slab it up. By the way, mine's real. All right, good.
Yeah.
So, Tim, those were some good examples to tell people what to look for, but unfortunately not a very satisfying result on a quick resolution to this.
No.
Okay, interesting. Guys, anything else that you want to add before we go to break and then come back and talk more about responsibility for fixing this?
Well, I mean, I can touch real quickly on the PSA ones too.
Yes.
I know that wasn't kind of the crux of what we want to focus on, but PSA, I would say, has better technology for their slabs. I mean, they look old and outdated, but there's some sneaky things. Ricky, you were noticing that laser etched PSA logo in that bottom right.
Mm-hmm.
Their label now has what they call their lighthouse hologram on it on the front and the back. They call it the lighthouse because if you kind of roll it back and forth, it reflects a little differently. And then the fugitive ink, the label or the flip on the top also has like a really subtle PSA like shadow hologram, like just dotted throughout the white part. So it looks like it's a boring label, but it's not anymore. That's through a bunch of iterations over time that they've added some of those. And then Chad, you notice the QR code on the back where you scan it and actually pulls it up in the database. So there's features there. And the interesting thing is, I don't know if you've noticed, Chad, but like one of the grading steps on your card is, hey, your card is getting reviewed for quality and being sonically sealed. So I was like, that just sounds like garbage, right? Like that's not really a thing. Like who cares what that means? But actually, so when they do that, you look around the edge of the PSA slabs, it looks, fairly clear, right? But when somebody cracks that open, it turns into kind of like a frosted, more like opaque plastic color. So that's where it matters because they can't reproduce that sonic sealing or whatever that they do there to actually seal those two pieces of plastic together.
Interesting.
So that's one way you would know. And those are like a lot of the features that are on the PSA label now. So over time, I think that's like their 9th or 10th version of how they do their cards. And so it's really inexcusable for Beckett to still just kind of shrug their shoulders at the fake slab thing. There are ways to improve. And I think we should touch on that. But maybe the next segment.
Well, and I was just going to throw out, Tim, you didn't talk about the most important way you can find out for both BGS and PSA. And this is the method Tim always uses. Just get a bathtub full of water and throw them all in. All the dry cards are good. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this BGS scam and who's to blame for these fake slabs when we come back right after this.
I thought I was good at buying sports cards and flipping for money. But before I obtained my Bachelor's of Sneakiness at Polytechnical Institute of Sneaky Asians, I didn't know that I could do better. PSA taught me that I could do a lot better using fake slabs. My name is Jeremy Tang, and I just returned home from the National Sports Collectors Convention, where I saw so many cards that I couldn't afford with only my GED and $250 left on my prepaid debit card. So I enrolled right away at PSA using a computer at my library. Now I'll be able to fake slabs perfectly by dotting my PATs, not using that Comic Sans font, and upgrading from my Elmer's glue sticks to a hot glue gun. You won't even be able to tell my Bleckett slabs from the real ones. Why buy wisely when you can fake like Jeremy?
All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. If you could please go to our iTunes and rate and review our show, I'll get Chad to stop yelling at me. The commercial breaks.
No, I don't promise that.
Hey, we're taking baby steps.
I didn't promise that.
Guys,
just swear on the air.
Guys, we were having a really good discussion in the last segment about the BGS grading scam, and that led to a conversation of how you can tell when you've got maybe a fake slab from either BGS or PSA. I want to talk about a little bit about who do we think is responsible for fixing this issue? What do either of you guys have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I think we can look at this from a lot of different ways, right? So there are collectors that are involved in this. Of course, there's BGS that's involved, and then there's consigners that play a role in people who are trying to sell cards. So I'll start this off. I did reach out directly to a consigner who is very popular and actually didn't mind his name being thrown out there.
Okay.
So, guys, this is from DC Sports 87. consign your cards through them. All of us have done that before.
Mm-hmm.
We do not know this person personally, but has always been very professional in interactions. So, response. When I asked who should be responsible, specifically if consigners have a role in identifying and removing BGS fake slabs.
Right.
So his response, it's a little bit lengthy. Guys, stop me if you need to.
That's worth reading.
Hey, Chad, my thoughts on it probably won't be very popular because nobody knows how much goes into consigning for so many people unless they also have done it. We have to absolutely fly when listing cards. There's no way we could take time and stop on every graded card and inspect it. What we do is, if we list something and somebody shows us why it's fake, then we take it down right away and offer the seller to crack it and send it in for grading before selling it. If it's a proven fake and the owner tries to keep it in their possession slabbed, then we won't sell for them anymore. It's only ever happened with us once, and the owner was cool about cracking it out. So long story short, I think it's our responsibility to look into something like that when it's brought to our attention. But to expect us to identify anything wrong with a slab that looks legit is not realistic.
I don't think that should be an unpopular opinion. I agree with him.
I don't.
I mean, so you don't, Ricky?
I don't. I think that if he is putting so many cards up for sale that he cannot spend time to look into these, then maybe he's understaffed. Maybe he's making too much profit.
No, so timeout. Just because I know where you're going with this, Ricky, but I just don't. It does not apply to Zach. I mean, he's worked his butt off. He's like somewhere in the top 20 of eBay sellers in the last year or two. He's gone that high just with his consignment business. I mean, he's expanded.
Right.
I think the other day he dropped in another he made an aside comment that they were listing 3,000 cards the next day, that were going live, for their eBay listings. That's a lot. You're going to tell me that you're going to pay somebody enough to go through and research every single one of those 3,000 cards every day?
Well, no, but maybe you can hire enough people to post that they can spend a little bit more time looking at them as they're posting them.
No, I'm with Tim. This is absolutely not. I think he nailed his answer. It is not his responsibility. His job, he does not get paid or make a livelihood based off of identifying fake slabs. If someone points one out to him through the methods that we said and say, hey, this looks fake, then he's going above and beyond to remove this and reach out to the seller. He has no responsibility to do that. He has zero.
No,
he has
that
absolutely
was not a
zero.
cheap card. Yeah, and that was not a cheap card. That was the Lucas Silver Prism. I mean,
So are you saying he doesn't have a responsibility to reach out to the seller? He's going above and beyond by reaching out to the seller when when someone else brings a fake card to his attention that he's selling?
Yeah.
That's above and beyond?
Yes,
it's absolutely his livelihood. If he's selling a bunch of fakes, no one's going to buy from him in the future.
Well, then that's him putting his own business out there.
Right. That's why
on
I'm
the
calling.
line. No, I do not feel it's his responsibility to be checking for this. I don't. He is not responsible for slabbing these cards.
You could maybe convince me on it's not his job to be reviewing each of them with a fine-tooth comb. But once he's notified, it 100% is his responsibility and issue if he goes on to continue selling that card knowing that someone's brought it to his attention it's a fake.
Well, you weren't listening, though. I mean, he's saying that when it's brought to his attention that he 100% owned that, right?
No, I was arguing with Chad at that point.
Yeah. And Ricky, I'll accept that part of the argument.
It is tough.
I didn't talk to any other consigners to see how other consigners feel about this. I know that other podcasts had talked about some also very prominent and major consigners and what they've done with slabs thought to be faked in the past. But I don't know, man. Consigners have taken some flack. We had people message us about, Tim, was it about the Luca card? When the BGS fake slab first came out?
Yes.
We won't mention who it was, but we had people really pressing us to say, hey, you know this person who's consigning these cards. Why aren't you pushing them to pull it? And I don't agree with that. I don't feel it's the consigner's responsibility. I don't. I think he nailed it perfectly. I think his statement was perfect.
And it certainly wasn't ours. I mean, like, we're separated by another degree of responsibility, right? Like, I mean, yeah, I happen to know DC Sports 87 because we use him as a consigner. And side tangent, if anybody out there is looking for a consigner, he's easily one of the best. Back to our topic.
And I feel like you have more of a personal attachment to him. Not that you guys are buddy and know each other.
No.
But I feel that you have taken that friendship on more so than I have, because I always try to be fairly objective about these people who I don't truly know.
Right.
And we're still coming to the same conclusion is the point I'm trying to make here.
Exactly.
From two different points of view.
Well, and I will join you guys. If I understood you correctly, it is absolutely not the consumer or a podcast role to go tell another business how to run his business or identify cards or demand their, that's not our job. And that's ridiculous to make that argument.
That was pretty aggressive. I mean, yeah, we were aware of it, but that was not on us to reach out. I mean, I was very close to saying things that were inappropriate, but
if you do reach out, and again, this is the attorney talking, I think if the person you sell it to and you had notice and they can show it, you're facing lawsuits potentially. Sure. I mean, so
it's
I
fraud.
Think, so I think that when you're the consigner and you do become aware of it, you do have to take action at a minimum. I realize that my position on that is more of a dream, that these consigners do list so many cards. And we've talked about it on previous episodes about how difficult it is to list on eBay versus consigning when you guys were trying to convince me to do so. And it does take a long time to list these cards. And if you've got a bunch of them to get through, you've got to move fast. So I certainly understand that is a tricky part.
Yeah,
so,
it's in big picture. If we really want this to change, I think in my mind, I'm skipping a little bit again to the end, but again, we'll fill in the gaps. If you want to change, you either need BGS to fix it and make a solution, or I guess, or it's all of our responsibility as card collectors. You get a slab, look at it, identify it before you go selling it off to someone else. And then when they get it, yeah, sure, if they can identify it and pull it. And so really, we all kind of have a card collector responsibility looking at that. But I thought the consigner piece, at least, was a very interesting place to start on this as far as whose responsibility it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one question I had was the PSA, the QR code. Is that what they're called? QR codes?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How easy are they to replicate? I mean, could they just copy that 100 times on a piece of paper?
Go count how many dots are there and try to figure out like how many different combinations of dot placement there would be.
But couldn't they just
up with a QR code?
Couldn't they just scan it and copy it?
Well, that part you could, right? I mean, you could duplicate that for any given label,
right? I'm just trying to think of what's the one thing that could not be duplicated easily, and I don't even know that PSA has any magic answers in their slabs. We talked a little bit about them last segment, but BGS is devoid of anything to show that it's legitimate. It's a piece of copper or silver or whatever, paper if it's a low enough grade.
Yeah, no, it's paper. Yeah, I mean, when I crack open those slabs, it's a little tear-off sheet of bronze-colored paper that's got a glossy finish. I mean, anybody, if they tried hard enough, could probably duplicate that.
Can we all agree that the BGS slabs as is are just not sufficient? You have to have at least something to make it difficult for the reproduction.
Yeah, a hologram, something, right?
Yeah.
The part of that would be that BGS needs to have a part in fixing this. And I think people have very different opinions on this. Well, at least I know some of our listeners have different opinions than we do just when we were chatting.
Right.
Personally, and I feel, let's transition into this. Is it BGS's responsibility to fix this? And from my perspective, I think absolutely it is. Because otherwise, you will have collectors who get fed up with this, especially, Tim, you mentioned earlier, people who are buying very high-priced cards who want to ensure that their slab is real and is accurate, that if they don't see change and they can't ensure that their slab is real, they will move away from the product brand if the brand doesn't change. And I think that their statements from BGS simply stating to buy wisely and be smart, That's completely
not
insufficient, and that's not good enough for me. It's just
not acceptable at all.
For me, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Saying that you're working on it, okay, that's great. And maybe for some people, that's perfect. Well, fantastic. Show me that you're willing to make the change. I'll welcome it with open arms.
Well,
but that's my thought.
The frustration you're experiencing, Chad, is the perfect example that it should matter more to them. It is killing their brand.
Yeah.
Oh, 100% it is.
And then you add in all the issues that they've had with their backlogs compared to PSA. I mean, PSA's an S show, but Beckett or BGS is just 10 times worse from what I've heard. And so you have those slow turnaround times. You've got the bulky slabs, and now you're saying it's a customer problem. It's a you problem, not an us problem, when you have people that are diluting your product in the marketplace with fakes. And there's no way to differentiate yours from theirs. So I don't know how as a company you don't stress like hell about that and try and stop it. You don't. It's like a famous band, the Beatles, going and saying, "Hey, everyone, throw our music on YouTube. Do whatever you want with it. We don't care."
Basically,
it's like that time when Tim and I were in med school and we opened up that practice down the road, trying to tell people we'd already graduated, and eventually they're going to catch on to you and go somewhere else. For a while, it worked out and it was great.
Oh,
for the record, I'm kidding.
No. Yeah. Going to repurpose that truck though. Oh, I mean, but Ricky, I agree. I mean, they're taking no ownership. Like, why is that okay for a company? I mean, like, I wouldn't want to work for a company that takes that little pride in their product. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah. Well, and it is really night and day between them and PSA, isn't it? Where PSA is hiring, like, they're being bought out by the world's most famous card collectors, and they're adding automation, and then BGS is just over there collecting dust.
Literally.
I asked Mrs. Doc about this just to get a complete outsider perspective, and I didn't tell her my thoughts on this at all. And I just simply explained what had happened. And her quote, in trying to identify a fake, she said, "I think it's BS." And she didn't say BS. And her initial question from an outsider, how are you supposed to tell a real from a fake from pictures on eBay? You know, again, referencing back to BGS stating, "Hey, purchase wisely."
Right.
You know, from a complete outsider perspective, the same thoughts. So I think we're all kind of on the same page here.
No, and I agree. And I do think Tim's advice is good, to ask for more photos. As Mr. eBay, I get asked all the time for additional photos, and I always am happy to send it to them for two reasons. Even if it's a nicked corner or something else, I want them to be aware ahead of time. I don't want that card once it leaves my home to come back. And so I think a lot of the honest sellers are inclined to fulfill your request to take those close-up photos.
Yeah, it's a giant red flag if the seller's not willing to put in that effort, you know? I mean, I think.
Especially if you're going to spend, 3 or 4 figures on it.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's very true. So definitely some responsibility from people out there. And I guess transitioning from responsibility, guys, and to kind of wrap up this segment, would be ideas. If you were in charge of BGS, what would you do to prevent further fake slabs? Ricky, any thoughts? We'll start with you. If you could change one thing, what would that be?
To assist with identification of legitimate versus not, correct?
Yeah, any part of it.
Oh,
more so for us to be able to prevent further fake slabs. And yeah, you could expand that to identification or prevention of fraud. So I guess that's kind of a vague question on my part.
No, I understand what you're saying. So the thing for me, I'd like to see a watermark. If I got to think it's relatively cheap compared to some of the other options. It will be more difficult to counterfeit, and run it like a dollar bill. Run it throughout the gold label, the white label, whatever color you get, or even in the top left corner where the Beckett logo is. Put something in there with a watermark, something that makes it more difficult to counterfeit. Although I am approaching this from the idea that people are just counterfeiting their own and making their own cases and everything. Tim brought up a really interesting point. That doesn't really fix the issue if they're cracking cases somehow and able to reseal them. That concerns me greatly.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things wrong with that slab. But I agree. I mean, the bare minimum, that label needs to be upgraded. I mean, like, what the heck? And it can't be that hard to design a slab that, you know, like completely, I mean, like basically disintegrates or blows up if you try to, you know, crack it open, right? I mean, you look at the high level security that Panini puts on their flawless briefcases. It's a freaking sticker, but if you peel it off, it leaves behind all sorts of residue, right? Like, so you know somebody opened it. I mean,
I'm picturing dye that comes out. We go over to Tim's apartment. The whole place is covered in blue dye all over the walls and plastic shards embedded into the drywall. Oh, guys.
Just
don't mind the
excuse me. I'm
blue ink
taking a
everywhere.
break. Yeah, I'm going to go work for a Blue Man Group for about a month. Don't mind me.
Tim blew himself again.
I don't know if I need to bleep that this week.
Tim's in the corner cutting corners off cards, all blue. Jamming that card in, that oversized card into that slab.
No, Ricky, that was basically your idea, right? Like where the Beckett logo is, there's a perfect little square that they could put like, you know, some time release or like exploding die caps.
At least a glitter bomb.
Oh man! All right, whoever I get for Secret Santa next year, I'm gonna put a card in a slab with a glitter bomb in it, and just ask him to open it up, and then we'll know whenever it goes off.
That'd be awesome. The gift certificate for a cleaning lady to come in. But I mean, the slab needs to be fixed. If you crack that open, there should be something super obvious. It just that's not okay. And then a QR code. I mean, PSA, like that's in at some point in like 5, 10 years, 15 years, whatever, a QR code is going to be laughed at. I mean, some people already think it's irrelevant, right? Like who's going to scan that? But if you put it behind some kind of reason for it, like if you put a reason behind it, say you scan it, right now, all it does is pull up the registry and say, hey, this is the card that should be in that slab. Mm-hmm. Scan a freaking picture. You've got robots. Put the code on there that corresponds to the actual card and the actual serial number. That's right. At least a double layer of something that somebody has to fake or hack or whatever you want to call it. But how's that hard? Especially for patch cards. I mean, then you can't swap out patches. You know what the auto looks like.
Yeah. So I know Ricky's friend Kyle is all on board with scanning them. That I think would get some traction for sure.
What about the idea that that PSA lists when you first grade a card, they list the name of who the grader was, so that if you typed in or scanned that QR, you could see Chad Spain submitted this. And what if they added an option that subsequent owners could then somehow register? So if Chad sold to me, I could then register and say, so they could see the history. It was owned by Chad.
Hey, Ricky.
That's what blockchain is.
Blockchain is, yeah.
Damn it!
Ricky, we actually did an episode on blockchain.
Scratching that idea.
We did. The three of us.
I thought blockchain was just the e-cards. There goes that great idea. What do you think they should do, Chad?
Oh man. Well, you guys already touched on the thought that I had earlier in the week. Both of you did with the QR code. That was something to me when I was thinking about this episode and an easy way to do it. I immediately picked up the PSA slab, and the first thing I did, I saw the code on there and I had never previously scanned it, pulled up the camera on my phone, and immediately it pops up. And it's not a perfect solution for the reasons you guys have also identified that I did not think of, but it seems like that would be simple enough to do. I don't know. I'm not involved. I've never been involved with that process. So that was my thought. And then I guess lastly, what I will add is what some of our listeners had told us.
Yeah.
And some of them, I guess they didn't necessarily have a solution to the problem, but some of our listeners said, hey, you know what? We want an apology from BGS. We want them to say, hey, we understand that this is a problem. we apologize that this problem is there and we are working to fix it. And like I said, for me earlier, that's not quite good enough until I see something, but for some people it is. And that would be a very excellent place to start.
But what does that say about BGS that they haven't even taken that step? And they've actually gone the opposite direction and doubled down and said, this is a you problem. This isn't an us problem.
That's hard to swallow for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Might have to find out when that BGS rep's going to be at the local card shop. Give them a piece of our mind.
Let's glitter bomb a slab on them.
All right, guys. It's been another fun show. Chad and Tim, I'm Ricky, the BGS 9.5, wishing all of you a one of one night.
If you want change, be the change, baby. So, Tim, on Instagram, you posted that you had a box of Prism Retail basketball. So what did you pull out of it?
What?
Yeah, so I went